Hey guys, what's going on? Bobby here. Welcome back to a brand new video. Today is episode 1 of the cart rebuild. I bought this cart. I'm going to do an arrive and drive program next year with it. It's a Margay Ignite K3 with a Briggs LO206 motor, popular 4-cycle class that's kind of taken over the world by storm. We have this cart fresh off of the season of 2022 with that guy behind the wheel, Mr. Brendan Lauer. And so it's got a lot of cleaning that needs to be done for sure. It's not ready to hit the track in 2023. There's obviously a lot of things you have to do to the cart in the off season to freshen it up, even if it was perfect. But is it perfect? That's the answer we're gonna find out today. Brendan, hit him with a quote.
Hit him with a quote. This is about to be the least perfect cart you've ever seen. You're about to see some stuff here that you're gonna need to blur and censor, and quite honestly, I think we're breaking international laws with this one.
The beautiful thing is I've done this for a lot of people. We've taken carts, found issues with them, made them fast. This is the first time we've documented what we actually do to make them fast. So if you yourself out there are trying to go faster, break out the notepad. We're about to dive into the rebuild process of the Brendan Lauer machine. This beautiful cart right here. Did you ever get any pushback penalties? Because this looks pretty solid.
I did not. I mean, you would have to be going faster than other people. Bobby, you're gonna break the cart.
So we got some of the work out of the way in the back. We'll get that rear bumper off here in a second, but let's see how tight this hub was actually on this cart. Because if there's any movement back here, that's gonna slow you down. Any kind of movement in the rear axle, it's gonna slow it down. That's actually really good. A little bit looser, but that still works. So you see this? We got this loose, but this ain't budging. This hub ain't budging. There's this device right here that is a torsion bar for the front of the cart. You can put it in the front end of the cart, or you can use it very effectively here in the rear end.
Is it working?
I think
We've made a millimeter of progress. We need some lube.
Oh, nice, you got it stuck. We're getting high tonight.
So right now I'm working on moving all the different bits and pieces that are connected to the motor, getting everything disconnected so we can pull the motor off, which includes the chain, the fuel line. And then the last two things we need to disconnect on this machine is the RPM lead that connects the motor to the Micron, which is uninstalled at the moment. And then we also need to get rid of this throttle cable right here. So we're just gonna take the whole assembly out of the carburetor by unscrewing the top cap, and we'll just leave it off to the side just so we can get the motor out of the equation. The motor is still mounted to the chassis. Brendan, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
When was the last time you actually took this thing and did a full rebuild completely apart, like what we're doing right now?
I mean, you know the answer is never. I don't know why you're asking me on camera.
It literally has sedimentary layers of filth and grime. You could probably go back the years, like that's 2022, that's 2021.
The thing is, I've actually given it. Oh, what didn't I?
This smells like 2016.
That's not even true. It was 2018. No, we need that. It can't go without that.
All right, guys, here we are. We've done a lot of teardown of this chassis. Where we're at right now is about where I would like to get the cart in between race weekends. We're not on our full teardown. post-season where we would like to be quite yet. The only things we have left to do would be to take this big fuel tank out, which I don't plan on putting the big fuel tank back in. This seat's already destroyed, and we'll get into that here in a minute, so that's got to go too. Regardless if it was good to go or not, still need to get that out so we can look at the seat struts and the chassis that's being blocked by the seat in the way. And then we're going to take the rear axle out. That's about as far as we're going to go with our teardown process of this chassis. But to kind of recap what we have done so far, we've taken the bodywork off of the cart. That includes the front bumper, both side pods, and the rear bumper. Lauer decided to keep the driver pod up front, so we didn't have to worry about taking that off. The other thing that we've done is we took the engine off, which required us to disconnect the fuel line. We took the carburetor slide assembly off of it as well, slid the chain out, and we took it apart from the motor mount. In addition, we've also taken the front lead off of the cart, so that way we can better see the floor pan and some of the chassis up here in the front of the cart. The only other thing that we've done is we've taken some different assemblies off of the rear axle, including our hubs. We also have these axle collars, which I haven't really talked about. Brendan has been really smart. He actually had these axle collars holding the hub assemblies in place so they weren't sliding around. He's also got one mounted over here by the sprockets to keep it from sliding around. So this is kind of an underutilized tool that people can use. You can put it up against the bearing to keep the axle from shifting. You can put it up against the hubs to keep the hubs from moving. It's a very cheap investment for just peace of mind to keep the rear of the cart from moving around. We found a lot of things that we didn't like with this chassis. First off, if I take measurements here, this is kind of how I'm able to figure out if the rear axle was centered to the chassis, and unfortunately it wasn't. It was about, I'm gonna say, maybe in between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch off. So the axle must have shifted at some point during Lauer's time with this cart. I wasn't a big fan of that. Obviously, as I alluded to earlier in the episode, this seat is just destroyed. You can see where the seat strut up here has penetrated through the seat, as well as we've got a crack forming down here at the base of the seat as well. And Lauer has done his best to use some large washers to try to compensate from the cracking and try to prevent it from any further destruction, but at this point it's a lost cause. You might as well just replace the seat. So that's one of the things we're going to have to do as well. In addition, we found going around the cart, and I make mention of the video that I made with Greg Dingus for our mid-season rebuild in 2020. You kind of go around the cart and you do a Shakira dance with it. So you find all the components and you just grab onto it and move it. This spindle has a little bit of movement, but if we transition over here to the left side of the cart, this one, a lot of movement. So in our inspection process, we'll see maybe it's just this kingpin bolt is loose. Maybe we just need to tighten up the bolt. Or maybe the spindle going bad. So we'll have to take a deeper dive, look into the spindles in a future episode. Besides that though, I'm pretty happy with what I see. We're not going to be able to really see if there's any cracks in the chassis or any other worries until we take everything else apart. So to end this episode, we're going to take this fuel tank out, we're going to take the seat out, then we're going to take the entire axle assembly out. Oh yeah, that's nice and tight. Oh my God, look at this. You can even see where it's been bumping and banging. When you've got a 10-pound lead weight that's moving like this, we did not touch it yet. Literally what Matt did was he came over here and he was just able to turn this by hand. And what we found is, and to be honest, the ones that we've already taken off were really loose and easy to get off. But now,
Not even hand tight though.
not even hand tight. But look at, let me get one more look at this. So every time he hits a curb, it's gonna move. It's gonna do that. And even like as a driver, we always say you wanna stay planted in the seat. If you're moving side to side, that's not really good for the handling of the cart. But having an entire 10-pound lead weight move like that, it's definitely not a good thing in the handling of the cart. So
Tighten your weights, friends.
keep your nuts tight, friends. Now that we've taken all of the lead off of the seat, there are more issues that are realized. So with all of that weight that we had on the seat amounting to about 44 pounds of lead, we noticed that the lead was actually holding the seat down into the chassis. And so we thought that the seat was actually pretty well secured because it wasn't moving around. But now that we've got all the pressure relieved off of it, we see that not only is this cracked up here at this assembly, it is completely loose at this seat strut. So every time that you hit a bump, every time that your chassis flexes in a different way, your seat is being moved. And the seat is the most important weight transfer device of this entire chassis. It keeps everything pretty much connected together. So big issue here with the seat in this condition, as loose as it is, especially with all the weight attached to it. It's just amplifying all of the issues. I think that's about all the issues we're gonna find in this video, but we're gonna take this seat off, take the seat struts off, we'll have the chassis completely bare, and that's gonna conclude our teardown process. All right, I got this piece of junk out of the way. Yeah, this is your turn for a segment. This is your selfie cam this.
Yeah. So here he is. He's undoing the left side seat strut, and I'm over here screwing around. I'm like, man, that's got a lot of travel. And then all of a sudden we notice that there's a bit of ooey goo on the deck.
Yeah, we're leaking brake fluid now out of the caliper, the whole brake assembly. I mean, I know that you can replace some of the parts and pieces of this whole thing, but at this rate, I'm gonna go from the master cylinder all the way to the caliper and replace the whole brake assembly too, because we don't know where the issue's coming from. Obviously, it's leaking from over here. No harm, no foul. I wanna make sure this thing is absolutely perfect when we hit the track this coming season. Looks like I'll be replacing that too. Our work here with the teardown has been complete. Since we recapped you about halfway through the process, we took the seat out, we took the rear axle assembly out, and we took the fuel tank out. So now we've got a complete bare chassis here that we can work with. We're gonna clean it up and examine it. There's a couple of things in here that we're not gonna necessarily take apart for our complete rebuild. Stuff like in the steering that we can see without having to take it apart. That's fine, we'll leave it as it is. Pedal extensions have gotta go. We're not vertically challenged like Lauer was, so. That's about as far as we're gonna go in this episode. Next episode you're gonna wanna watch because we're gonna clean all the bare chassis, we're gonna examine it, see if we got any cracks in it, and we'll start our reassemble process. So for those interested in the services that we're gonna provide for next year, we're gonna arrive and drive this chassis once we have it rebuilt. We're also gonna offer driver coaching, and we're also gonna offer mechanical services if you got your own cart that you need work done on. All of that information can be found down in the link in the description at bobbykrug.com. But until next time, guys, we'll see you in the next one.
Trailer of sailoring. Man, trailer of sailoring. Ain't got no cigarettes, but trailer of